So welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're doing another seasonal championship. This one is counting Jeep, which is going to be A-class vehicles from the manufacturer Jeep. So yeah, mainly off-road, only off-road vehicles should I say, so yeah. Not sure if this is cross-country or anything like that, but if it isn't, then yeah, we're going to have some fun times on road, but hopefully we'll have even more fun times if it is off-road. That's where those vehicles belong. Especially since it is obviously winter conditions, that's where they're kind of conditions that they're going to excel at, really. So
arrived at your destination.
Yeah, it looks like it is cross country, which is great. So let's see which vehicles we can choose from. So you get the Jeep Wrangler DD from doing this as well.
There, I'm pretty sure you'll have a lot of fun with this seasonal. Just make sure you wrap up warm.
Which we'll probably be able to choose from. Yeah. No, actually. Yeah, actually the Wrangler Unlimited Liberty Design is the vehicle that you can win. As you can see, it's got the Hellcat engine in it, and yeah, it's pretty quick, but it's not got the best top speed because it's only got a 3-speed gearbox. Then we've got the Trackhawk, which again has a Hellcat engine in it, though with slightly less torque, and the Trailcat, again Hellcat engine, slightly more torque, just like the DD version of the Wrangler, and then the standard Grand Cherokee SRT, which, even though it only has 470 horsepower, it's far faster than you would expect. So let's start off with the rather ordinary Grand Cherokee SRT, because yeah, it's got a decent amount of power and torque from its 6.4 litre V8 engine, but it does weigh more than 5,000 pounds. But then so does the Trackhawk, which this is based on this Cherokee. And yeah, handling and braking is fairly good for a SUV. Acceleration and launch is great, and the speed is rather decent as well. So let's see what it can do. But yeah, I've always kind of preferred these more standard Jeeps over the far more powerful, far more ludicrous versions. Just because they are still plenty fast enough, but you know, they've not sacrificed their off-road capability all that much, and still have plenty of practicality. And at the end of the day, how often are you going to get to use more than 700 horsepower in an SUV in everyday circumstances? Not very often at all. So yeah, I really do like these more standard versions. But even so, this SRT is still not a standard Grand Cherokee, because yeah, it's got the SRT badging on it, which means, you know, more power, more sporty handling, and road holding and all that lot. So even this isn't the more standard version, but it's got enough of the extra performance, but not so much that it's idiotic and not all that useful. That said, those Trackhawk versions are really rather fun to drive, and it's nice to see that they've been able to use that Hellcat engine in more than, you know, just the Challenger and the Charger. Dealing with everything okay so far. Oh, the original Jeep is up front, I think. Is that the original one, or is that the CJ5? I think it might be the CJ5. Got water on this one because we are in winter, so it's all iced over. But if there was water, this will still be able to get through it fine, good rate of speed. The ice does present its own challenges in terms of lack of grip. Yeah, that's the CJ5 version of the, or the Renegade version of the CJ5. Which is a lot like the Liberty design, really, in terms of being really quick in terms of acceleration, but because of the lack of gears is not particularly great at the top end. Well, might be the least powerful version of a car on that we can use on this season championship, but first place has still come with quite ease, to be honest. We're more than 3 seconds ahead of the CJ5. 7 seconds ahead of a fellow Jack Cherokee from 2014, another CJ5 in 4th, and a Jeep Wrangler in 5th. So yeah, pretty good start to this championship, but nonetheless, let's get on to the second race. So despite being the least powerful car here, we got a win straight away, so yeah, that's very encouraging. But I think we're going to go for the Liberty Design Wrangler Unlimited, as yeah, it's got a fair decent amount of power and torque. It's not the lightest here, it's 50 pounds heavier than the Trailcat, but then it is a larger car, so yeah, and it does at least have 50-50 weight distribution, which would mean handling wise, yeah, as you can see, it is better in terms of that regard, as well as braking, launch, acceleration, but the speed isn't quite as good. But this is a circuit race, so I don't think top speed is really going to come into it, and at the end of the day, it still does more than 130, so yeah, it should at least be able to get to that kind of speed quite quickly, and therefore yeah, at least be able to make up that, use that speed on short straights. Hopefully there are no long straights though, because otherwise then we will be yeah, in danger of not being able to keep up. No idea why they chose only 3 gears for this version of the Wrangler. I guess it's just, the choice of the modifier really, but it does seem a little bit odd really. You've got almost 700 horsepower and a hell of a lot of off-road capability to limit yourself to only 3 gears. Though I imagine it's got low range and plenty of diffs and everything to make it go off-road really rather well, but yeah, 3 speeds just doesn't make sense to me really. At least go for 4. 3 just feels like it's, a random homage to Jeeps of the 70s where they only had 3 or 4 gears, so yeah, it just doesn't seem particularly necessary, but it's the way it is, and it at least isn't hindering us too much so far. It's relishing the fact that this is a circuit race. Imagine if it was a point-to-point, this would struggle a fair bit, but here, mega long straights really aren't the norm. It's proving really advantageous. And at the end of the day, it's a really good handling vehicle, got good brakes. Even though the suspension is obviously quite soft for being, as it is an off-road vehicle, it's not harming the overall abilities of the vehicle, and yeah, at the end of the day that soft suspension does help off-roading. So yeah, it's dealing with the bumps and the jumps perfectly. As you saw when we jumped the Grand Cherokee off the into the mine, or whatever, it pretty much stopped dead when it landed, because it's got very little in the way of suspension travel, whereas this has plenty, so therefore it can just carrying on with minimal drops in speed. Very impressed by this. Obviously, if you were dealing with a circuit or a point-to-point that had an extremely long straight on it, then you would struggle in that car. Like I said, it only does about 130-135 mile an hour. But on a race like that, where straights really don't come into it, and you need acceleration and a good amount of speed constantly, then that 3-speed gearbox really does come in handy. So yeah, we got another 20 points, giving us 40 overall. Giving us a 12-point lead over the CJ5, a 12-point lead over a Trailcat, a 21-point lead over another Trailcat, and a 22-point lead over a Wrangler. So yeah, nonetheless, let's get on to the third and final race. So despite only having 3 gears, the really good handling, braking and acceleration with the Liberty design there saw us through to a win. So yeah, I think we're going to combine the Grand Cherokee SRT and the Liberty design and go for the Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. So it has the engine from that Liberty design, but it is obviously based on the Grand Cherokee. So yeah, handling and braking is still pretty good, slightly better than the Cherokee there, the SRT version. But acceleration is infinitely better. So is the launch and so is the top speed as well, because it has 707 horsepower and 645 pounds-feet of torque, as compared to the 470 and 465 respectively of the Cherokee there. So yeah, but it does weigh more, no doubt about that, and yeah, weight isn't quite as balanced either, but that formidable amount of power will hopefully see us through to a third and final win for this championship. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what this is doing. I wouldn't personally buy one of these, I'd rather have the SRT version, but yeah, there's no doubt that these are a formidable vehicle, and yeah, definitely a engineering triumph as well to get 700 plus horsepower into an SUV like this, which is an amount of horsepower even, you know, like so Germany can't even match right now. I think the Rex 6M has about 625. So yeah, this is still the powerhouse when it comes to off-road vehicles. It'd be quite hilarious if they ended up making a demon version of this, or a demon equivalent of this from the Challenger. So obviously that has 840 horsepower. But I expect that the car's chassis, all-wheel drive system, and the like will not be able to take that kind of power. Because even at this kind of speed, or should I say horsepower and torque, it does feel like the limit, because it's not quite the best handling SUV out there by any means. Car lead with the Jeep Trailcats, which obviously have the same engine as this, but are lighter and far more off-road focused. Short point-to-point race this one. Sneak ahead though. Well, that's not as much of a resounding win as the previous two, but a win is a win regardless of how far ahead we are. So yeah, there we go. The all important third and final 20 points, giving us 60 overall, 20 ahead of a Jeep Trailcat, 25 ahead of another version, 28 ahead of another version, and yeah, 30 points ahead of a Cherokee from 2014 upon which this Trackhawk is based. So yeah, there we go. Pretty fun championship if you like your off-roaders, especially your Jeep off-roaders, which I personally do. And yeah, you get the Liberty design that I used in the second race for winning this championship, which is again is a pretty fun off-roader, even in its stock version with 3 gears, but obviously you can upgrade it. And yeah, it's well worth getting, and yeah, you did get a fun championship out of trying to get it in the first place. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye.